The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere, and Morning Espresso is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore, and the 10th season of Atlanta United is officially underway. The team has had their baseline medical testing and all of the things you got to do to start the season off the field. And they hit the training pitch today for the first time with the media on hand. 10th season of Atlanta United. It is crazy to think about that, and it's even crazier to think about it being the 10th season of Soccer Down Here and our morning show. We started in January of 2017. 10 seasons of covering this club, the city, the game alongside you. We've grown up. Hopefully you guys have too. SDH has grown up. I don't know if the individuals involved with SDH have grown up, but that's a whole nother topic. If you've been with us from the very beginning, thank you for helping build this. If you just found us last week, welcome to the family. You're just as much a part of this story as anyone who has been here from the beginning. We step into a new season together, and our promise stays the same. We'll keep covering soccer with clarity, with context, with humanity, and we'll always be around the corner from everywhere. We reject cynicism, we choose responsibility over spectacle, and we believe that an informed and connected community is what makes the game stronger. That's always been our mission, and in year 10, it matters more than ever. Here's the news. Let's start in Saudi Arabia with Barcelona taking the Spanish Supercopa. The game just refused to behave last night in Jeddah. Everyone stayed glued to it as Barcelona beat Real Madrid in the Supercopa final 3-2. It was chaotic, it was dramatic, it was absorbing, and it ended with every player packed into the Barcelona box and goalkeeper Joan Garcia clutching onto the final header from Raul Asensio like the trophy depended on it, and it basically did. It was a slow build. It started a little cautious, a little tactical. Real Madrid started deep. They were looking to hit Vinny Jr. on the break. Barca dominated the possession, but they couldn't get really into dangerous opportunities. And then the match exploded. 3 goals in 6 minutes in stoppage time at the end of the first half. It was all control before that, and it turned into a classico. Rafinha struck first after sustained pressure. Vinny Jr. answered with a solo run that saw him nutmeg Jules Koundé and had an amazing finish and just an incredible goal. 2 minutes later, Robert Lewandowski cancels that one out. He restored Barcelona's lead almost immediately with a composed finish after a pass from Pedri. The second half never came down from there. Real Madrid drew level through Gonzalo Garcia after Dean Huijsen's header came back off the bar. For long stretches, Vinicius looked unstoppable, forced multiple saves from Garcia, dragged Madrid forward with every run. But Barcelona needed a moment, and they found it through Rafinha again. His shot, it kind of slipped, it deflected off of Asensio, and it wrong-footed Courtois. It wasn't perfect, but it worked, and it gave Barcelona the lead. Then Frankie de Jong's late red card kind of turned the final minutes into survival mode for the Blaugrana. Kylian Mbappe's introduction raised the stakes. He's coming back from injury. Madrid throws everybody forward. They had their chances in stoppage time, but Barcelona held firm. For Hansi Flick, it is another trophy in charge of the club. And it's a statement that this group knows how to win on the biggest nights. And it's a statement for 2026 and what Barcelona is wanting to do in La Liga, in the Copa del Rey, in the Champions League. And that's really the biggest statement that a win like this gives you. For Xabi Alonso, it's painful, but I think it shows that Madrid are okay under him. They're competitive, even as they're in this transition from Carlo Ancelotti to Xabi Alonso. It's the smallest trophy in Spain, but nights like this give it a little more weight, a little more size. I think Xabi Alonso is going to be fine. I think he has gotten through the tough part of being in charge of Real Madrid. We will see if the Madrid board, and maybe more importantly the Madrid media, agree with that, and we'll see what the conversation is this week after it. If he has another bad stretch, I think we'll bubble that stuff back up. But Barcelona wins the Supercopa 3-2. AFCON, the semifinals are set. Morocco, Nigeria, Egypt, and Senegal are your final four. Egypt, maybe the most drama in the quarterfinals. They knocked out Cote d'Ivoire 3-2. Huge performance from Mo Salah. Nigeria, 2-0 win over Algeria. Victor Osimhen leading the line. They set up a semifinal date with the hosts, Morocco. Morocco, very composed. They got through their bogey team, Cameroon. Brahim Diaz has scored in every game in the tournament so far. He's been one of the best players so far in the tournament. Senegal, they started the quarterfinals. They got the win over Mali. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy, but they get it done. That sets up a rematch of the 2021 final with Egypt. Four of the continent's giants, four teams that have won this tournament before, four different footballing identities, and now we get to the semifinals on Wednesday. Both games on Wednesday. Cannot wait to see it. AFCON rarely disappoints when you get to this stretch. This has been an amazing tournament, and now there's 3 games left in it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Let's bring it back home. Major League Soccer officially in motion. Training camps opening across the league. It's not just another preseason. It's the final full season being played under the original calendar that MLS started with. New calendar shift in 2027. Players and league leaders are aligned behind this change. It's going to move MLS towards a start in late summer, early fall, end in spring, winter break. It brings the league closer to the global soccer calendar, which, as you guys know by now, is pretty much never ending. It smooths out the transfer market, which I think is a very big component to this. It better aligns the league with FIFA windows. I think it'll make it much easier to take those FIFA windows off. And it will create more consistency in player movement, incoming and outgoing. Just think of how we've talked about players who have come to Atlanta United at this time of year, at the beginning of the season. Think about Latte Lot last year. He comes in, and he was coming in after being part of preseason in England back in July, played all the way through into January, then flies across the Atlantic, comes to a new team, and then played for an entire almost 12 months, 10 months. He was exhausted by the end of it because he didn't have a break. Now, when you add players ahead of your season, they will come in on the same timeline as the rest of your squad. That's going to help those players. It's going to make it easier to sell players when it's the right time as well. You're not going to be thinking about, this could wreck the second half of our season. It's huge for the league, and that part of it will be huge for every team in the league. But for now, 2026, even though you have a World Cup break in the summer that will kind of mimic the flow of the calendar a little bit going forward, 2026, the season run, will play out on familiar terms. You've got camps opening now. Rosters are taking shape. Clubs are preparing for preseason fixtures. And it's a huge moment for the league in a World Cup year, but it's one that feels like evolution finally arriving for Major League Soccer. Maybe growing up a little bit as well. Let's bounce around the domestic focus just a little bit here. Toronto, they're pushing hard to land U.S. striker Josh Sargent from Norwich City. Reports of an $18 million bid on the table. Norwich manager Philippe Clement, he insists that the club do not intend to sell, even though Sargent said that he was not going to play in the FA Cup this weekend. It's complicated. Clement called it transfer things. We'll see if Toronto can get this one over the line. Norwich don't want to lose Sargent right now. San Diego, they confirmed that Chucky Lozano will not be part of their plans for 2026. How they end that is going to be very interesting. I don't know if it was maybe the right strategy to announce it on the first day of preseason with the media because, now I don't know how you get out of it outside of a buyout when he would be a player that could at least command you something in a trade, if not a transfer. So we'll see how San Diego manages it. Cincinnati, they have agreed to sell Luca Orejano to Monterrey, multi-million-dollar deal. 15 goals, 14 assists in his 2 years in Cincinnati. Red Bulls, they are finalizing a deal that will send Daniel Edelman to St. Louis. I think it's a really good move for Edelman. He is a ball-playing central midfielder who will go to a team that under Yohan Damet now, I think will be more of a ball-playing team than maybe the Red Bulls would be. I think he might fit where St. Louis is going. Although I kind of wondered if Michael Bradley would see something in Edelman. I've always liked Edelman. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I don't think he was always the right match for the Red Bulls style of play. U.S. men's national team striker Ricardo Pepi is facing 2 months at least on the sidelines after suffering a broken arm while playing for PSV. Strong run of form lately. Short-term concerns about club and country as competitive games pile up for PSV, and you've got those friendlies coming up here in Atlanta in March. Will he be back in time? I don't know. Angel City on the NWSL front, they strengthened their defense by acquiring U.S. international Emily Sams from Orlando in exchange for $650,000 in transfer funds. Expansion side Denver Summit, they've stayed busy. They landed Canadian star Janine Sonis and signed highly rated midfielder Una McCormack, national champion at Florida State, a regular in U.S. youth national teams. They get ready for their first season on the field this year. In the college game, Donovan Phillip from North Carolina State and Jasmine Akey from Stanford were honored with the Herman Trophy, the top players in college soccer. Akey's already headed to Denver in the NWSL as well, another big signing for the Denver Summit. Chicago Stars, they are going to play at the newly renovated Ryan Field in Evanston as a temporary home starting in 2027. They are pursuing a long-term soccer-specific stadium solution. Excited to see the kind of rebirth of the Chicago Stars in the NWSL. Around the corner on the SDH Network, Madison Cruz and Sophia Cupertino are on the ground in Marietta today as Atlanta United opens preseason training. They'll bring you the sights, the sounds, the early storylines from day one of year 10. Follow along on our social channels at Soccer Down here for updates, video, behind the scenes as the season officially begins to take shape. This morning on SDH AM, John Nelson is hosting starting at 9:05 alongside his usual Monday crew, Abe Gordon from 92.9 The Game and Bart Keeler from the Soccer for US podcast. Also, check out the SDH podcast feed for a brand new Red Clay Soccer report. President Luke Pelkowski and Vice President Christian Faulkner stopped by to speak about Valdosta FC's second season in the UPSL, what they learned in year one, and how the game's growing in South Georgia. That's on the SDH podcast feed. Also, soccer over there tonight at 8 o'clock. I'll be live at the Brewhouse Cafe for that one. The refill to close things out on this edition of the Espresso. Macclesfield shock Crystal Palace, one of the great FA Cup upsets. A non-league side knocks out the defending champions. What a night for Macclesfield. What a night for Wrexham. They knock out Nottingham Forest in penalties. Manchester United, they crashed out. Not a shock. Interim leadership unable to get them through Brighton in a 2-1 defeat at Old Trafford. Danny Welbeck with the winner against his former club. Manchester United are out of both domestic cups. Brighton, they get the win there, but they reported a £54.4 million loss for the last season, driven largely by heavy investment under Fabian Hürseler and a swing in player trading from profit to loss. Chairman Tony Bloom stressed that the numbers reflect long-term ambition. He's pointed to strong league finishes and a renewed push toward becoming a regular European contender. Got to invest a little bit to get over that hump, and we'll see if this is a smart investment for Brighton. Scott McTominay, he scored twice as Napoli came from behind on 2 occasions to earn a 2-2 draw against Inter. Napoli firmly in the title race in Serie A. Inter were not able to really stretch out a little bit at the top of the league. Going to be another fight to the finish between those two, it looks like. Toluca, they started their Liga MX campaign with a statement win over Monterrey, setting the tone for a season that has big expectations as they've won back-to-back titles. They are looking for the Tricampeonato, which won't be easy in Mexico. It's only happened once in the short season format as Club America did it in the past. Let's go to India. The Super League will return after a whole lot of crisis and uncertainty. It'll return on February 14th following government intervention. The league's comeback does bring some relief, but there's a lot of questions about long-term sustainability as Indian football continues to search for stability, for, I think, growth at the professional level. It feels like there's so much opportunity there, and it just hasn't ever come together. Let's go to Australia, another place where there's opportunity and it hasn't always come together. The Australian professional leagues have taken interim control of the Central Coast Mariners. They had to terminate the club's participation agreement under current ownership. The move is designed to stabilize operations while a sales process begins to find long-term ownership for one of the A-League's most community-rooted clubs. Fingers crossed for the long-term future of the Central Coast Mariners. Look, as we close it out today, it feels right to come back to where we started. It's a new season for Atlanta United, a new season for soccer down here, and another chance to do what we do the way that we believe it should be done. Barcelona lifted silverware yesterday. AFCON is down to the Final Four. Preseason camps around MLS are starting today. Stories from every corner of the game all over the globe. It's a reminder of how this sport that we love so much connects so many dots in so many different places. Most of all, it's a reminder of why this community matters. Whether you've been part of the SDH community for our entire run or for just 10 days, thank you for choosing to spend part of your morning with the SDH network. If today's edition gives you something to think about, gives you something to drop into the group chat, gives you something to smile about, share it with a friend, either the podcast or you can subscribe to the newsletter as well. Share that. That's how this grows. That's how we keep growing the conversation, increasing the size of this party, and it's how we keep telling the game story together. I will be back with you later today, Soccer Over There, starting at 8 o'clock, and I'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of the Morning Espresso. Thanks, y'all.